Why do I do? Like, why did I buy a book that was already made? Like, $1,000. Yeah.
Everything's in. That's my message.
Sometimes I think, I'm doing good, and I listen to somebody else. I guess I'm just taking it as a base.
100%, bro. Yeah. Yeah. But you felt good. It's just again, a culture turn, right? What we're doing, right? We just wants to do it all this.
But not so. Oh, it is. That's good. Right on me. Right there. I don't. Okay.
Young or young?
Young.
Okay. All right, thank you. Young. Well, he's not very.
Oh, it's not John.
Problem? German. German.
That's fact. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. I think plus.
I think it's fine. It's gonna move. I mean, I like it. Wait, I wasn't sure. Hi, everybody on YouTube. We apologize for making you dizzy. Okay.
I'm about ready to start. Sure. Yeah.
Sure, and just to let you know, we need you to step out and talk on these.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our regular meeting of the City Commission for October 8th, 2025. It is now 9:01 a.m. Ms. Torres, would you call us to order, please?
Honorable Ross Heffler.
Present.
Honorable Amanda Forrester. Honorable Justin Mitchell. Present. Honorable Mary Jo Fall.
Present.
Honorable Ingo Hopner.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Please join me in 15 seconds of silent meditation, either in the form of a prayer or whatever you think about that makes it a little better. Thank you. Mr. Mitchell, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible.
All right, I don't think we have any changes to the agenda today, so I may have a motion to approve.
You want me to go since I'm here in person today?
You can do all of it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda for our Wednesday, October 8th, 2025 meeting.
Honorable Amanda Forrester.
Aye.
Honorable Ross Heffler. Honorable Justin Mitchell. Aye. Honorable Mary Jo Fall.
Aye.
Honorable Ingo Hopner.
The motion carries unanimous. Before we get started, we have a couple of proclamations, and if you'll bear with me, I'll try to read through these. Our first proclamation is City of Truth or Consequences, New Mexico Epilepsy Awareness Month for November 2025. Whereas epilepsy is a chronic neurological condition defined by recurrent, unprovoked seizures touching the lives of our neighbors, friends, and family members across all ages, races, and backgrounds. And whereas epilepsy will affect 1 in 26 people in their lifetime, with approximately 3.4 million Americans, including thousands of New Mexicans and residents of Sierra County, currently living with the condition, which despite its prevalence remains deeply misunderstood. And whereas this condition can disproportionately impact children and seniors, and in tragic cases may lead to sudden unexpected death in epilepsy, the SUDEP syndrome, a reality that underscores the urgent need for public awareness, seizure, safety education, and continued research. And whereas greater public understanding and compassion are essential to dispelling myths, including stigma, and fostering an environment where individuals with epilepsy receive the unwavering support, dignity, and care they deserve. And whereas the City of Truth or Consequences recognizes and honors the dedicated efforts of organizations, advocates, and families working tirelessly to advance epilepsy research, improve treatments, and build a more inclusive community for all. And whereas November is nationally recognized as Epilepsy Awareness Month, providing a vital opportunity for our community to amplify voices, share stories, and promote a deeper understanding of this complex condition. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Rolf Eschler, Mayor of the City of Truth or Consequences, do hereby proclaim November 25th as Epilepsy Awareness Month in the City of Truth or Consequences, and I urge all citizens to join this observance by wearing purple as a sign of solidarity, learning about seizure, first aid, and extending their support to create a more informed and compassionate city for everyone affected by epilepsy, not just in November, but the year round. Proclaimed and signed this 8th day of October, 2025. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have
I decided not to wait till November to wear my purple.
Perfect.
proclamation. Not ready. Our second proclamation this morning is for Domestic Violence Awareness Month for the City of Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Whereas anyone can be a victim of domestic violence regardless of age, sex, ability, ethnicity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, or religion. And whereas children who grow up in violent homes are believed to be abused and neglected at a higher rate than the national average, and these children, their development and ability to function well in school can be negatively impacted for a lifetime. And whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides an excellent opportunity at both state and national level for citizens to learn more about preventing domestic violence and to show support for the numerous organizations that provide critical advocacy and services to victims and survivors of domestic violence. And whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides an excellent opportunity to reach victims and provide crucial information on how they seek help and support. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Rolf Eschler, Mayor of City of Truth or Consequences, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2025 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month throughout the City of Truth or Consequences. Proclaimed and signed this 8th day of October 2025. And I have a couple of folks I'd like to present this proclamation to that are here today, which is Blanca. Yeah. Okay. And Ashley, would you come up to the podium, please? And you guys, would you stand up behind? Got you there. Sure.
Oh, I use that podium. Sorry.
Sorry, I just said podium.
Oh, okay.
One on this side.
It's Amanda. Yes.
Ladies, here's a
Great
proclamation.
name.
Here's a picture.
And we would like to. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. I don't want to trip over anything.
All right. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Purple on too, I didn't even know. Yes.
All right. All right. Now we start the business portion of our meeting. We're going to have a water and wastewater cost of services and rates design study presentation. Before I invite Dave Yankee and Carrie Anderson up, though, I'd like Carrie to start us out.
Well, thank you, Mayor, Commissioners.
Yes,
Good
sir.
to be with you this morning. Our first presentation we're seeing today is it's been, I think, in the works for a couple of years, if I'm being fair. Obviously, dealing with all the water problems, the situations we've had, the commission set forth a process to take a look at our water rates, to make sure that they were consistent with other users, other systems, and then ultimately find a way to make sure that we could cover the debt. As I've talked to you about over the last 6 months, kind of organizing the pot of money that you've accumulated over the last few years, much of it comes with, it's come with a high debt, right? We're at about a 25% debt to grant ratio right now. And so this study is going to take a look at how we can potentially, make sure that we can keep up with that debt load through the rates. Obviously, we need to be charging the rate that allow us to pay our debts. Otherwise, it's going to have to come from the general fund. Make sure that the process could be fair and transparent to the citizens. I know they've taken on some rates. You guys have done some increases in the past to try to solve some concerns. So, we have, and then I've been kind of in on the tail end. So I kind of added some time. I pushed our team a little bit hard on some items to make sure that we got to the right report. So you're going to have some good information here today. And with that, I'd like to just invite the team, Dave and Carrie up. I'll let them kind of introduce themselves a little farther, and then we'll go over the report, and then we'll have some questions. Mayor, what I would also say today, this item is on the agenda for action. The action is, again, just like with the electrical study, to accept the report. This is their final step within their contract. So by accepting the report allows us to finish the contractual side with our consultants, pay that contract out. And then we would like to move into the same process where we set up some public hearings in the evening. We kind of let the public see what this study is, give you guys time to digest it before we actually make a move to implement it. And then what we ask the consultants to do is really look at it from an implementation standpoint of during our next budget cycle. So we have time to review it, we have time to look at it. And then if we're going to move to this, we would do this in our budget process where we would say, starting July 1st, these would be the new rates and the new structure going forward. So having said that, Mayor, I would ask you bring up the consultant team and we can start right there.
My name is Carrie Anderson with New Gen Strategies and Solutions, and we were retained to conduct a water and wastewater cost of service and rate design study. So through the course of this presentation, I'll take you through the purpose of that study. I'll talk about some things like the scope of work, some of the tasks that we took on. I'll walk through the revenue requirement, what that means, talk about the test year that we put together off of the fiscal year 26 budget and the capital funding requirements associated with that. And then I'll talk about current rates for water and wastewater. Then I'll pass it over to Dave, who will talk about our proposed rates and the bill comparisons under those rates for residential customers. So the purpose of this analysis was to put together a 4-year forecast of the revenue requirement for the operating and capital costs. We looked at that from fiscal year 2026 to fiscal year 2029. As a part of that process, we issued a request for information where we gathered different financial and operating data. And using that, we did a billing analysis to essentially pull the billing units together, which are these like customer counts and consumption. We looked at that and put together a normal test year, which is essentially looking at the rainfall data to put together units that are closest to normal conditions. And then using that, we looked at revenue sufficiency under current rates, and then use that to propose rates that would ensure financial integrity for the utility. So what is a revenue requirement? So that's essentially the revenue that's required by a utility that they must collect through rates in order to cover its operating expenses. So looking at the figure that we have, the revenue requirement takes into account things like the operating and maintenance expenses and any capital needs. So improving infrastructure, obtaining new assets, or anything else that's going to be in the capital improvement plan. So next we put together the test year. A test year is a common term in rate studies that refers to an adjusted fiscal year that can be used as a basis for setting rates. We took the fiscal year 2026 budget and applied different adjustments to it to get it as close to normal as possible. Through conversations with city staff, we put together inflation factors for things like contractual services, electricity, chemicals that will be applied to this test year in order to forecast across that 4-year period. So for water expenses in the 26 budget, we had about 1.9 million. We adjusted out the existing debt since rather than applying those inflation factors, we looked at the actual existing debt and added that into the forecast. We also added in an adjustment for pay-as-you-go, which is $50,000 put away each year into the reserves to plan for future capital needs. So altogether, for the test year, those expenses came out to just over $2 million for water in particular. On the revenue side, it was about 1.8 million in revenues. We adjusted out the 1.7 that could be associated with rates from customers. And so that gave 184,000 in revenues that was also added into the test year. So that net revenue requirement for water was at about 1.8 million. We did a similar thing for wastewater. So starting with the fiscal year 26 budget, about 1.5 million in expenses. And then the existing debt for wastewater was about 78,000. We also were putting away the same amount, $50,000 for pay-as-you-go into the reserves to plan for future capital needs. So expenses came out to about $1.5 million. And then again, for revenues, we adjusted out any of the service revenues that were going to be calculated in our revenue reconciliation of $1.3 million. And so the final wastewater net revenue requirement came out to about $1.4 million. So then next we have the current rates. So under the current rate structure, residential, commercial, and then the Williamsburg customers all have the same minimum bill. And that's regardless of what the meter size is associated with that account. Then there's also a volumetric rate. That's going to be an inclining block rate structure. So for each of the tiers, as you consume more water, that rate goes up. And then there's a single volumetric rate for city landscaping and then effluent water. I would also like to make note that in that minimum bill, 2,000 gallons is currently included for those residential and commercial customers. Next, we have the wastewater rates. For wastewater, for commercial, the volumetric fee is applied to all gallons. It's based on the actual water consumed. For residential, it's based on a winter average. So that's going to be October to January minus the greatest month of consumption. And then that usage is divided by 3. And so that's what the volumetric bills are based off of. Then you have for commercial and residential, it's $14.46 for their minimum bill. And then for the city of Williamsburg, there's $23.98 for their minimum bill. And now on to Dave Young.
Thank you. All right, good morning. Again, for the record, my name's Dave Yankee. I'm the president of NewGen Strategies and Solutions. So Carrie laid out the revenue requirement and a forecast. So what I'm going to walk through are some different water and wastewater rate scenarios that we developed for you. And then I'm going to walk through and show under each of those different rate scenarios, how much revenue will you recover? And is that sufficient? Or are you going to still be under recovering given some of the debt obligations, et cetera? And so then at the end, I'll provide my recommendations on what we would recommend to you folks. So under your current scenario right now, your status quo, you know, if you do nothing, what you do right now, you have an annual CPI, Consumer Price Index, adjustment of 3% at the beginning of each fiscal year, July 1. So that's your status quo. We developed two other different scenarios then. We designed a scenario that, again, as Gary mentioned, we're starting with any proposed rate increases for fiscal year 2027. So you're into fiscal year 2026. We're not recommending any changes right now. What's nice about this, the changes we would recommend you implement, this gives you time to have discussion, have those meetings. And also one thing I wanted to mention, this is our presentation. We will be providing a report as well in the next couple weeks that once it's reviewed by staff, it'll be finalized. It'll give you more information, the detailed schedules all behind this. So you can look at that as much as you want. It's great if you have sleeping problems, read it before you go to bed and you will sleep great. But in all seriousness, there'll be a lot of information there that we will provide in the written document. So staff has that for going forward, the methodology, assumptions, et cetera. But so under scenario one, what we're going to run a scenario as a 3% annual residential and city increase and a 5% annual increase on the commercial and industrial for those 3 years, fiscal year 27, 28, 29. We also strongly recommend a phase-in of the meter equivalent rates. And I have a table on the next slide I'll show you. So I'll just hold that one for now and I'll come back to it, but it's very important. We also would recommend the phase out of the 2,000 gallons of water included in the minimum bill. From a conservation standpoint, across especially the Southwest, and we work throughout the Southwestern United States, water conservation is incredibly important. Including 2,000 gallons in the minimum bill is providing what you call free water. Well, as we all know, there's no free water. You've got to pay for it. And so a lot of our clients have eliminated 2,000 gallons. Minimum bill is just for having the hookup and the ability and right to draw water. So we'd recommend that be phased out, and we did that in our rate scenarios. We also went to a standardized or recommended a 1.25 multiplier on outside customer rates for the minimum bill volumetric rates. That is very common and standard in the industry. I've been doing this a long time, going back 30 plus years. There used to be a period where you'd have a 1.5 or 2 times multiplier. Those sometimes got challenged by the at the PUC or Public Utility Commission, depending state jurisdiction. A 1.25 has been found to be very defensible. You're going out into other parts outside city limits. You don't have necessarily density. You have certain additional costs providing. A 1.25 multiplier has been found to be defensible. We also would recommend standardizing all the minimum bills, and we'll show you that in a minute. The second scenario basically includes all those items I just mentioned, but also includes a bigger increase. Instead of a 3% increase to residential, it's a 6% and then an 8% increase on the commercial and industrial. So this is one of the key things we just want to mention. Right now, your minimum bills, regardless of the meter size, you all pay the same. It's the same amount, regardless of meter size. But when you look at meter size, the meter size shows the ability of water to draw down on that meter, and it grows exponentially. You know, it's not like, oh, a 1-inch meter is only 25% more. It's, you know, from an engineering standpoint, it's actually 2.5 more times ability of water to draw. 1.5-inch meter can draw 5 times as much water as a 3/4-inch meter. So it's very common in the industry that your minimum bill is based on a multiplier. So if your minimum bill is $19.50, let's say, for a 3/4-inch meter, the 1-inch meter would be $19 times 2.5. So that would then be, I don't know, about $45 more or less. Now, as you go up, the vast majority of your customers are gonna be in the 3/4 to 1.5 inch. When we help clients do this, Carrie and I are actually working with a client in the panhandle of Texas right now, similar size to you folks. They're moving towards this. We always recommend doing it over like a 10-year period, because it is a rate adjustment. And so we recommend phasing it in. And so that's what we've done in our analysis here. Some folks will do it over a 5-year period to 10 years. So we've forecasted this over a 10-year period. It is very important in our opinion that you move towards this. This is recommended by the American Water Works Association. That's the National Association for Municipal Utilities. Again, you have to size your water utility, provide water to these customers, whether they use it or not. So if I have a 3-inch meter, the city has to have the infrastructure, storage, water, the ability through water lines to move that water to me. And so if I have the ability to draw down, say on a 3-inch meter, 16 times more water than you can at your residential home, I should help pay for that fixed cost. And so this is a good source of revenue to phase in over time, which we have and is widely done in the industry. It's by far the exception to not do this. So under those 3 scenarios, again, and I'm going to go through at a high level for this. So this is the first scenario. Just if you're doing your 3% annual increase, again, you can see you're under recovering every year. You can see the revenues are the top line. Let's take fiscal year. We'll go to fiscal year 2027. Revenues are shown about $1,688,000. Your revenue requirement is at about $1,976,000. So you're under recovering about $288,000. The only growth in revenues there is due to that 3% CPI adjustment that you have. So you can see your the first line over under shows your annual under recovery, and then the cumulative is the cumulative over that period of time. So the point is, you go to fiscal year 2029, if you only do the 3% increase, kind of your status quo right now, by the end of 2029, you're going to, on a cumulative basis, under recover $1,072,000, that bottom number. So what would you do there? There's only 2 ways to fund that. You take it out of reserves or you cut back on expenses. Utilities are a very fixed cost business, so it's kind of hard to do that. So scenario 1, this gets, again, with the modest increases that we talked about, with the 3% residential and 5% commercial. What helps here is the minimum, that meter equivalent. Remember I said phasing in over 10 years, increasing that. So if I've got a meter, a 1.5 inch meter, that's a 2.5 times, I'm phasing in and I'm paying more as I should for that minimum bill. So you see a significant increase in helping to generate those revenues over time, plus a slightly higher volumetric increase for the commercial, so that you see by fiscal year 2029, you're almost breaking even. You lose $12,035. On a cumulative basis, you would have dipped into the reserves $378,000. So a lot better than 1.3 million dipped into the reserve, but you're still losing money. So this goes to our final scenario. And again, this is the scenario, again, where it's a 6% residential rate increase, an 8% increase in commercial, and the minimum bill being phased in. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, in these 2 scenarios, scenario 1 and 2, we also phase out that 2,000 minimum gallon. So you start paying for all that water. That's another significant piece that helps with that revenue in scenarios 1 and 2. But you can see under this scenario then, you actually get to a positive cash flow in fiscal year 2028. And by 2029, you have an over recovery. And then cumulative basis, you've only dipped into the reserves by $22,000. So this is the one we would recommend on the water side. One thing I always like to also talk about or mention, some folks will say, well, geez, Dave, by fiscal year 29, you're over recovering $173,000. Can't you just say, hey, we're going to knock 1% instead of doing a 6% and 8% for residential commercial? Could you do a 5% and a 7%? One of the things we like to leave a little margin because you're dealing with Mother Nature here. Carrie touched on it. We spend a lot of time looking at billing data. And so we normalize, and again, you're in a pretty arid environment. It's not like I'm talking to my clients in East Texas, but we normalize for rainfall. And so you want to look at normal consumption and what the needs are. You want to have a little margin of error when you're running a multi-million-dollar utility. Also, we have a lot of clients that are your size, aging infrastructure. You can budget for, and that's where we put pay as you go for reserves. I mean, you can have a pump go out and all of a sudden it's $50,000 you got to come up with, and you may not have budgeted for it. And so this is one of these places where you build some reserves in, it just helps you. So that's the water, and I'm going to go to wastewater next. So the wastewater, be upfront right now, you need more significant rate increases here because you're spending a lot more on the wastewater side to get your treatment plant and things up to compliance. And one thing I want to mention right off, because nobody likes rate increases. I never had a client yet say, hey, thanks for the rate increase. But if you are out of compliance, and we've had clients, we just had a client in Texas, they got sideways. They were discharging effluent that, basically was not clean to standards. You can come under a court order to fix your system. It's cheaper and a lot easier to do this on your own than have the state/federal government looking over your shoulder to do this. Also, you are very fortunate here in New Mexico. You have a significant amount of grant monies, as was mentioned, that you have to do some matching on, but you have a significant amount of, in this case, free money provided to you if you do the increases to do the necessary matching. And so to me, while it's not fun for the rate increases, it's a no-brainer. You got to do this so you get your system up to snuff on your own and you take advantage of those free monies. So with that, I'm going to go into the scenario here. So the first scenario, again, status quo, you have currently a 5% rate increase that takes place effect January 1 of each year. What we would recommend going into the other scenarios is move everything to July 1. It's started fiscal year. It's easy. You're not having to say, I'm only going to get revenues for 6 months or something like that. So we would recommend that. So scenario 1, beginning in fiscal year 27 through 29, a 15% annual increase on the minimum bill and volumetric rates. Again, with those increases taking effect July 1. The second scenario, same thing, but it's a 25% increase each year. Okay. So let's look at this. So again, and I'll go a little quicker on this one. This is your status quo, where you just do a 5% annual increase on January 1. And again, you can see you're losing about 300 grand a year, 600 grand in 2029. So you have a new bond issue coming on. Okay, so you can see bottom line, you're a negative on a cumulative basis, just status quo, about 1.6 million that you're going to have to take out of reserves or cut costs. Under the second scenario, where you had the 15% annual increases, you can see we have a negative under recovery. Let me just check one thing here. There we go. You can see with that, you've got the under recovery. Now, your cumulative under recovery has gone from about 1.6 million to, again, that bottom right quarter, about 735,000. So you're moving in the right direction, but you're still dipping into reserves. So again, with the 25% annual increase in each of those 3 years, you can see you get to a positive cash flow in fiscal year 2028, but you're still dipping into the reserves, 154 grand. In 2029, you have an over recovery and you finally are positive. So one of the things here, we would recommend the implementation of scenario 2. And one key thing I want to mention, and that's the 25% annual increase. Monitoring this going forward into FY 2029, you might not need the full 25%. You might only need about a 15%, but right now, again, we are seeing so much on capital costs where projects are not coming in on budget, they're over budget. What we would recommend, that's 3 years from now. We would recommend you move forward with this. The most critical is getting that first increase at the start of 2027, that 25% increase. And you're going to need it in 2028 as well. And then when you're getting up to the start of FY 29, you can monitor where your revenues are coming in. And you might only need 15%, but I would prepare for the 25% so you're in good shape. So bill comparisons.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please
I
do.
was looking at this bill, but so that's a volume on 6,000 gallons. What is like an average customer? Is that an average customer of 6,000 gallons?
Yeah, we're using 6,000 for a couple reasons, and thank you for the question. So we're using 6,000 gallons for 2 reasons. Number one, there's a state survey put out that within the state that is done at 6,000. So we wanted to keep it apples to apples so you can compare, okay, well, how are we versus some of these other folks? So that's one of the reasons we're using that. Typically, the average bill for a residential customer on the water side, for our clients, we typically see anywhere from about 5,000 or 6,000 to about 8,000, 9,000. So your average water bill is usually in, say, that 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 gallon range. And then wastewater is typically more like around 4,500 to 5,500. So it's close.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure when we're looking at these bills and the comparison kind of,
Yeah.
is that what majority of our customers are using?
Yeah, if you're, go ahead. Okay. Yeah, if you're looking at 6,000, that's going to be right in the sweet spot for your customers. Okay. So on average bills, and my eyes are starting to fade, so I got to read it. Okay, and so if you look at that on the sample bills, and I'm just going to hit the highlights. So, and again, we're on slide 25 up there. So your average customer right now for a monthly bill, $33.11 at 6,000 gallons, $19.48 on the minimum bill, and then the $13.64. And you can see that goes up 3% a year as, which is current. Scenario 1, you can see we are increasing at a greater rate. you see, if you look under scenario 1, the volumetric charge goes from 1364 to 1756 and then to 2170. That's because we're phasing out to 2,000 gallons and you're paying for it. So that's why you have a bigger increase and why the increase goes up to 13.6%, 12.6%, and then it's at 3%, which is, back to the normal, because you're taking away that free water. Scenario 2, it's similar with a slightly bigger increase. Remember that we did that? So you can see that the monthly water bill would go from about $33.11 to $38.72 in 2027, $44 and then $47. And so you've got those increases. One thing I want to mention, so that's your average water bill, basically $47. And so that's over 3 years. That's going to be a $14 per month increase you're looking at. So it's a good amount of an increase. But let me mention something. We're working, again, I've been doing this for over 30 years. I do water, wastewater, and solid waste. We are seeing significant increases on water and wastewater bills for our clients for 2 reasons. Number one, again, folks that have delayed on infrastructure and finally are having to do that. It's interesting on the wastewater side, and we'll get to wastewater, but I have 2 other clients right now that have done wastewater treatment plant expansions. One in the Panhandle, Dalhart, Texas, it's about 15,000 or so, and they're going to be spending about, with inflation, $37 million on their wastewater treatment plant. A lot of money. We just did a project in Green River, Wyoming, is a town of about 14,000, and they have theirs is $30 million for a wastewater treatment plant. I'm going to be down next week in the valley, down near Harlingen in Texas. They're looking at on the water side because they don't have enough water. They're going to brackish groundwater where you have to use membranes and all that to clean the water. They're looking at a 50% rate increase next year. So no one likes rate increases. But you have water, you've got to take care of it. So that's water. On the wastewater side, again, there'll be a bigger increase here because there's more of the costs associated with this. Again, scenario 1 is just the status quo, the 5% increase. So you're at $44.95 right now. That would go to $52.04 by FY29. Scenario 1, again, is going up 15% a year. So you would go up to $68.36. And then on scenario 2, it would go up to $87. And so that is a significant increase. But I will tell you, a lot of our clients, you're spending a lot more on wastewater than water because you've got to treat it for proper discharge. There are certain other requirements being put on with regard to PFAS, the forever chemicals, if you've heard about those, and just some of the other treatment requirements. So this is one of these things where you just have to, again, no one likes rate increases, but you've got to get these things fixed and in compliance, or you're going to have the state coming down here on a regular basis. And I'm not bashing the state, and they have that requirement. We've got to have clean water discharges, but it's not cheap, and you just have to do it. With that said, I have clients that their wastewater bills are well over $100 a month. They'd love to look at 3 years out paying $88. So it's all relative where you live.
Well, thanks for making our morning very depressing.
Well, I will spin it a little bit differently than that. And I say you have a unique opportunity before you to set the city up for the next 30, 40 years with the infrastructure they need. So, my undergrad's marketing, MBA is finance, so that's my marketing side, selling. That's everything I have there. There was just a couple things again, where some of the meters, because of the age, the city's gonna check and see what sizes. They just have to do a field, go out in the field to see what they are. And then those would be phased in on that over 10 years, adjustment. Down the road, I mean, your blocks you have are fine right now, but you may want to look at those down the road. Nothing urgent, maybe in 3-4 years. One of the things we recommend when there's a rate increase is keeping your current block structure so everybody, they see the rate increase and they can follow that. If you start changing your blocks and the rates in the blocks, then it gets a little harder to follow your consumption. So we recommend you just do the rate increases. With that, glad to take any other questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, I'll open it up for questions, discussion.
I have a question, if that's okay. So, based on this, you're projecting out to FY 29 and these rate increases. What are your recommendations? So we get to that point and we're at the high end, that 25% say for wastewater, then are you recommending that we stay that like forever?
So once the rates go up like that, you revisit where you are. And we have a lot of our clients that do this on a 5-year forecast period. I will tell you, I've been doing this a long time. I've had like 3 clients do rate decreases and then they had to turn around and raise them back up. So your rates will not go down because one of the things is you've got that debt service tied and that's going out for an extended period of time. And then bottom line, as your system continues to age, while you're fixing one piece, something else is getting old and breaking. I don't know how many, I'm not an engineer. I don't know how many lift stations you have on the wastewater side, but those are significant when you have to start doing replacements on those and major upgrades. So operating a utility, those rates, what I would say to you is you should hopefully at that point, then you're just, going along with inflation,
Right.
But that's where you have to see where you're coming in.
Mayor, if I could answer a question on that. So you see, on the wastewater side, I presented a scenario that would say we are going to need to upgrade. I've talked to you a long time about we're going to do some repairs on our system, right? That would get us 5 to 7 years. The vision that I gave them is tell me how I can get enough revenue to get a loan for $5 million so that we can in 3 or 4 or 5 years start planning to renovate the wastewater treatment plant. Okay. So that's what the 25% scenario says. In order to have the revenue enough to borrow $5 million more to renovate it, you're going to need to do this. Now, I'm not going to steal the mayor's thunder. He's going to talk about water trust. So we're trying to do a good job to find these revenues in the grant space, right? So if we can generate and find these revenues over the next 3 years, then we could hypothetically come back and say, we found 4 million, we need $1 million, we can borrow it differently, and the rate could go to 15%, right? And that's what we talked about. Like, so we know on the wastewater side, it's a, go add it as we go to see what we need for debt service. Okay. So that's on that scenario. On the water side with the increase, we put in the current debt of all the projects we have, right? It's about $400,000 a year we have in debt service, and it's not going away. Most of those loans are 40-year loans. So it's not proper for us to say, let's do this increase for 5 years and see where we're at. We owe the money, we borrowed it, we have to pay for it, right? And I just a couple of numbers. So I always want to keep us. It's more than just a rate study, right? You guys have raised a pot of money, right? We're at 75% grant to loan. Right now, we've received $43 million in grant money. That's a value of about $7,000 per resident that you guys have brought in. But I'm not going to take the credit. It was here when I got here. So, those are significant dollars that we're not having to charge to fix this system. So keep that in mind, right? So water, it's just really not gonna change. We've got to find that balance and we got to pay that debt. Wastewater, we have some room to work.
Well, I guess my assumption would be that I guess if we, go forward with, I guess I would need to amend I guess the city would need to amend our ordinances, I suppose.
I don't think we looked into the semantics right there. Whatever the rate process is that would allow us during budget, right, whatever that process is, we would have to come forward with that to say these would be the new rates for water and wastewater. And we would take those again back to the scenario I just gave, right? We would say this is maybe this next year because we don't need to borrow, stay at 15% on the wastewater side and then do that, or whatever the commission, whatever the path leads us to.
I guess I was thinking ahead after we get to what you're talking about, that we'd still have to come back and do some work here. I'm thinking, okay.
If I can help answer that. So
Yeah.
we have clients, a lot of times what they'll do is, depending where your rates are listed, whether it's in a resolution, ordinance, what have you, what I would envision you doing is you are going to, again, I'm assuming you move forward, what I would recommend is you look at fiscal year 2027 and you're looking at the scenario 2 for the water rate increase, which is the 6 and 8, 5 and 8, 6 and 8, and then 6 and 8% increases. And then I would definitely 100%, you've got to do that 25% on wastewater to start generating those monies. So I would recommend those rate increases for FY27. And then you look at the study again. This is why we provide a report. So literally, Gary, Tracy, they can pull the report out and say, well, what did New Gen say? Oh, fiscal year 28. This is what we're supposed to do. And it's in 29 where, again, on the wastewater side, that's where you want to see where things are coming in. Like Gary said, if some of these things are moving, you might be able to, let's see where the dollars are coming in from a revenue standpoint and a cost standpoint. But I will tell you, you've got to, the first rate increase is always the hardest, but you've got to get that one for 27, fiscal year 27, absolutely. Did that help or answer?
Yes, I would understand. I guess I was only thinking of the mechanics of how we implement something like this. I mean, maybe I'm mistaken. I think we have also our ordinance really set forth what the rates are. I would think we'd have to go back and revise. We have our books and
rates if we get to that point.
yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to think really the time frame. Okay.
It's pretty straightforward
Yeah.
process.
Any further discussion?
And then there are a couple of key points before I let you go, and you can, but just to remind, so we talked a little bit about reserves, right? You might be saying, do we have reserves? Both water and wastewater are carrying just around $1 million each. You've been able to accumulate dollars based on savings in personnel, right? And that's how, even though we look at these numbers, these are all budget numbers, right? They're not actual numbers. So the savings that you have and the money you're keeping in reserves has come through that process. But we do have about $1 million each in each one of those. And then the last thing for the public and for you, Tracy did a really good job putting the information in about the other systems, right? So you can see that report that Dave spoke of, that's part of the system where you can go see all the systems that look at 6,000 gallons. We can compare, right? And I'll just put on the table, we are in the bottom 25% of rates across the 116 systems in New Mexico. We're in the bottom 25%. There's 116 systems that are higher than us. The average water rate is about $50 across our systems, right? And the mayor, again, I don't know if he'll speak about it, but we were able to sit and listen to a water utility that was asking for money to drill new wells because their average bill is about $275 a month, right? Because they don't have, the wells don't produce, they have to pump, they have to bring water in, and they're paying off that system like $275 per month. And it was pretty sad to hear of the conditions that they're in when they're trying to ask for money. So we're not close to that. We have a reasonable plan. We'll find the right structure.
Okay, don't sit down yet.
You're not done yet, Dave.
Oh. Any other commissioners, any other questions?
I was just gonna make a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
On the business sense, when you're laying it out like that, oh my gosh, well, we really need to plan ahead. But for our constituents and for even ourselves, looking at that large of an increase, we're all gonna have a heart attack. So I'm hoping if we move forward on this, we really need to do a outstanding job on getting our community aware of the need, not like we're trying to rip them off, but we have to pay for these things, but
Well, like, and the wastewater, that's for 6,000. What about our small businesses that are using, I mean, that's gonna hit
it's gonna be
really, really hard. And I understand the need, we all do, we drive, we know, like, we see what needs, and we don't wanna end up where our infrastructure is not getting what it needs because we have pushed off rate increases, so we understand that, it's just very, yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow.
Well, I think like with, you know, the community reaching out to us about our broken water leaks and, you know, infrastructure and disrepair, you know, this is something that is determined to fix it. And they need to be aware that, you know, if we're gonna fix all of this, we're gonna have the money to do it. And it has to come from some of it on them, you know?
it's gonna be hard. We're gonna have to work really hard to sell this. And I think just showing the numbers, well, here's the cost. And it's not, you know, we can't wave a wand and say, okay, well, we got the money, but that's gonna be a hard sell.
That's why I brought up the issue about the ordinances, because if we have to go that way, of course, it could be public hearings, et cetera. So
Well,
that's,
I think way
yeah.
before that.
yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Because you had said, workshops and stuff about this.
Absolutely, yeah, we would do what we're doing with the, you know, try to keep that process going where we, you know, bring the public in, we just put it on the table so that
Right.
you guys can make the best decision, right?
Show them the numbers. I mean, if you just look at the black and white of numbers.
Well, if I look at this and the way I think about it is that, you know, these are what the numbers are gonna be if I'm not gonna call it status quo, but if we don't do anything,
Right.
right, if we're not aggressive. We have to be aggressive in going out and finding money. We have to be aggressive in trying to retire our debt. We have to be aggressive in trying to figure out how we're gonna fund that sewer plant. And we're doing that, and we will continue to do that. So, and there's a couple of things that probably aren't factored into the system. For instance, aren't we in the middle of kind of a meter replacement scenario? And I don't know how that's gonna affect our final bills. I don't think in many cases, the bills are gonna go down. I think because of the efficiency of the meters, some people's bills are gonna go up, and that's gonna have a negligible effect, but it's gonna have an effect, right?
Typically, when you do a meter change-out program, meters, when they are old, they under-report. Rarely do they over-report.
Right.
So you're gonna start paying for some of that water you weren't.
Yeah, so that'll have a somewhat of an impact. Another impact I'm looking at is, well, we're just going through the process of replacing 35,000 linear feet of water lines in the Veeder Street area. That'll happen, you know, in the next couple of years. I know that's on the city side, but we have to pump the water there that we're losing now. So that should also have an effect on you know, the final bill that we incur. Is that correct?
It should, I don't know.
We lose about 20 to 40% of our water through leakage and
Yeah, that's a high number, so it should reduce your lost and unaccounted for water. If that's a problem area for line breaks, that should definitely help there.
Right, so that'll help a little bit. So, you know, we're starting to chip away at it a little bit. The next thing I think I'd like to propose is that we have an opportunity at the end of this month to talk to our Legislative Finance Committee. And we've got our 5 projects that we're going to talk about. But one of the things we should talk about in general is the small communities in the state that are having to deal with these infrastructure problems. And when we have success, for instance, we're very successful in getting water support from the state, and we've got $43 million coming to our state, but each component comes with a grant opportunity, but it also comes with a loan or a match. And it gets to the point where we're looking at, well, we can't afford to ask for another grant because we don't know if we can afford the match component or the loan component because we're getting leveraged out. And so I think it behooves us and every one of us to talk to our legislators and say, let's do something for relief for our small communities. You know, instead of, you know, let's work on some debt relief and retiring some of this debt for our small communities so we can ask for things.
Right.
And so that we can move forward. And that would have a huge impact on us too. And I think we'll try to do that. We'll put something together this I think it's the end of this month, we meet with the LFC. So we'll try to do that. So those are a couple of scenarios I think that we can work on to try to mitigate some of those issues.
And we have been going up in our rates. Correct, in 23, I think we went up 9% and then 3% after, and then for wastewater, it was 5% or something. So, I mean,
Yeah, we have. And that's what we were thinking at the time, though, that's gonna keep us up,
Right.
right? And that's why we went up with those rates, but we know that's not true. But what we've also painted was the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario is that, well, we may have to go borrow $5 million to upgrade our sewer plant. Well, if we can mitigate that with funding from other sources, we don't have to borrow $5 million, and we'll work diligently to try to do that. And I think I'll save that for my report. When it's time to give our reports, I'll talk a little bit about what efforts we're doing in that regard. So yeah, this paints a picture. I'll tell you what, it's an eye opener.
Yeah.
It should be an eye opener for everybody. But we have to assure our public that we're going to do whatever we can to keep the rates down as much as possible. We have to be able to function as a business.
Right.
And so we have to move forward. We may have to make some adjustments, but we're going to do everything we can to keep those adjustments minimal. And we'll look at it very, very closely to ensure that, we're not saving too much money. I mean, I want to try to break even as much as we can. I know we have to have some reserves. We'll work on that. But we need to, save as many dollars as we can for our public as possible to make this as efficient as possible.
Well said.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. So. We don't
Hey,
have to
we're
take any
really
action on that.
depressed now, so can we take a break?
Let's move on. Do you need a break?
No.
Okay. All right, that was just a report, so you're gonna take action later. All right, let's move on to public comment. Remember, the 3-minute rule applies, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 presenters today, and we'll start with Ron Dorick. Good morning, Ron.
Ron, TRC. I was listening to a presentation, and one of the things that really bothers me is that we compare our city to our community to all the other 115 or 22 communities in New Mexico. We are not, we are different. And if you compare things, our gross receipts tax are in the top 3 of all those communities. And we are, Sierra County is in the top 3 poorest counties in. So there was no consideration for the people in this presentation. It was all about money, money. And the other thing is, I found when I was looking at it, when I pulled it up on the website, that there is difference in the water rates that they used and what I got yesterday from the rate sheet from the utility office. So that there was a discrepancy there. The other thing, on the wastewater, they talk about a 15% increased minimum bill and volumetrics. How are they measuring the volumetrics? There's no sewer meters. There's water meters, but there's no sewer meters. There was no mention of December, January, February, and March. That's when we used how we calculated the sewer rate, because that's when people were not watering your lawns or their flower beds or whatever. So December, January, February, and March, those 4 months, you take those 4 months, you throw out the highest one, and the 3 months you average, and that's how you calculate your sewer bill. I know you all know that, but that was never mentioned or brought into this presentation. There is no sunset clause in any of the utility ordinances. Not a one, not a sunset clause on any of them. And when I looked on the website, I didn't see that this presentation, and this was brought before the Public Utility Advisory Board in the last month, and last year, this year, 9 meetings that they had supposed to have. I would thought that the PUMB would be involved with this. Anyway, thanks for letting me come and voice my opinion.
Well, thank you, Ron. D. Clemente.
Morning, I'm Deborah Clemente. This has nothing to do with the water or anything that's going on.
Please tell us where you live.
I live at 37 Mud Canyon Road. I'm in the canyon right over I-25
Okay.
in Mud Canyon. My husband and I been there since 1996.
I drove there the other day. It's beautiful back there.
And well, what's happening is that since then, since we've moved here 30 years, there's been a lot more traffic on the road and stuff. And what's happening is
It's the mayor.
the
He's
traffic.
driving back there. Just kidding.
I'm talking about the highway. The tractor trailers are engine braking constantly. Constantly, they're waking us up out of our sleep, out of my dreams. I mean, it's terrible. And I called up Andrew Guerra from the State Road Department, and could he get a sign that, would say engine braking prohibited, maybe show a tractor trailer going, because right there where I am, I'm at mile marker 76, and the road just bends just a little bit right after that. And when it declines, it's a little bit of a decline down. And so the trucks don't know that that's coming, and they just quick, use their engines to brake, what happened one time was on Christmas Eve of 2020, one of the tractor trailers couldn't stop and went right over the guardrail and right down my property. And they had to use a crane to get him out. So I'm here to ask if you could make an ordinance, because that's what Andrew said, has to be an ordinance before he can make a sign like that. There has to be an ordinance for engine braking prohibited. Is that true? So I was wondering if you guys could write up an ordinance and make the sign, for the highway, because it's really for safety too, because these trucks are coming down too fast, way too fast, right over that bridge, it's a racket. It really is. It's so loud. It's unbelievable. And during Christmas, it even gets worse because all the traffic and the trucks, running the road. So that's it. One other thing though. Right there on the state easement, somebody threw a mattress out of their truck or car, and it's right there on the embankment. So I was wondering, I don't know who to call for that.
Thank you, ma'am. We've taken notes.
Okay.
So,
All right.
thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
How you doing? Good to see you guys. Good to see you.
Okay.
Becca Isa. Morning.
Good morning, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, City Staff. I'm Lisa from Main Street with some quick updates. Last month, I was here asking you all to vote for our Levitt Music Grant proposal. Thank you for your support. We had really great community support, and we ended up in the top 50 of over 100 people or communities in the public voting round, which puts us in the finalist round. They're assessing all the applications one last time, and we'll find out in November if we get the grant, which would be 3 years of free outdoor concerts in Ralph Edwards Park. In the meantime, we've been practicing putting on concerts by doing this little mini series downtown. We had a concert in August and one in September called Dancing in the Streetlight, and had good turnout for both of them. Good feedback from the community on how those went. So hopefully we did that in partnership with the city. Hopefully next year we could continue that as maybe a little bit longer of a concert series. I want to invite you all to our next Main Street Business Breakfast. That'll be November 10th at 8 a.m. at Jones Street Secondhand. We do these quarterly and have them in a different business downtown each time. We invite any Sierra County business owners and community leaders, and it's basically just a socialization, networking time, and then everyone has a chance to give updates and announcements about their business. So if you're available that morning, please join us. And then right after that, November 10th, we can walk a block down to Foch Street and see the construction that's supposed to begin that day. Hopefully, I don't want to jinx anything, knock on wood, but we're really excited for that project to take shape. We Main Street TRC is working with New Mexico Main Street on developing some resources for the businesses that are affected and for the community in general to help explain the project a little bit more, timeline, funding sources, and all of that. We awarded grants for our curb appeal micro grant program to 9 businesses downtown that are each doing a small project that somehow improves the exterior appearance of their building. So everything from a very tiny grant to just repaint some peeling paint to there's going to be a really cool mural going up in a business. So keep your eyes open in the next couple of months. Those grants that are starting to take place and they should be finished by the end of October or November. And then finally, I emailed you all yesterday the updated Main Street at a glance. In that email, I included a link to a survey. If you could please take 10 minutes. This is part of our annual accreditation process for Main Street America and New Mexico Main Street. They asked us to have feedback from our community partners. So if you could take a few minutes and fill that survey out for us, give us feedback on how we're doing, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Perfect. Is that it?
She practices.
June Russett?
All right.
Morning,
Good
ma'am.
morning, everyone. I am June Russett and I live here in TRC. I'm with Tree New Mexico as a regional planting coordinator. We've supplied 250 free trees to Sierra County's tree canopy. I'm really happy to say that. Half of which were planted by our incredible citizen volunteer workforce. And I would like to let the public and the local government know of our upcoming events. This Saturday, we have an event at the Veterans Memorial Park. We are replacing 6 trees that have died along that Healing Waters Trail. And that event starts at 10 a.m. and it's open to the public. We would like to have as many people come out as possible to not only that event, but November 15th, we will be planting 75 trees in the neighborhood just north of Ralph Edwards Park, east of Date. So with those 75 trees, we will also be having a tree care class and a giveaway, not on the same date. Formerly, we've had 2 large events and the giveaway events have been on the same day as the planting day. The giveaway event will be on November 22nd, or 23rd. We will be giving away 80 trees. So planting 75, giving away another 80. And then we will have another planting event where we will plant another 75 trees in the neighborhood just east of Gold. So 75 trees, 75 trees. And then on December 14th, we will have another tree care class and 80 tree giveaway. So that's a lot of trees being added to our canopy. And so we need that, like I said, the citizen volunteer workforce to be coming out and assisting us in those plantings. And I have all of that information on our website, bit.ly/treeorc. And then we will also be moving to Williamsburg in the spring of next year. So that's exciting news. On the waterfront, we are getting a lot of people declining our free trees based off of their concerns of the water, their water bills. And so I would love to see some conservation promotional things happening for rainwater harvesting and gray water usage. And I cannot think of a better use of those 2 usage tools than trees. And so we are providing the free trees. So I would love to see more of that. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Ariel Doherty? Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Wyoming has 275 registered voters, giving them a representative and 2 senators who vote in Congress. The District of Columbia, with almost twice as many registered voters, has no voting representation in Congress. Republicans in the House put forth 2 laws governing solely the district prior to their September 19th recess. One is to charge 14-year-olds committing crimes as adults. More draconian laws are planned for the district when the House comes back into session. Reconvening, postponed now twice, is now scheduled for October 13th. It's really the Epstein shutdown. The president on October 3rd headed his Truth Social posting, "The Party of Hate, Evil, and Sin." It is his long drumbeat demonizing Democrats for, quote, hateful political speech, end quote. There are almost 7 million more registered Democrats across the United States than the Republicans. Last month, the Supreme Court sanctioned racial profiling, going against decades of work to stop such blatant discrimination. Almost 49% of New Mexico's population is Hispanic. Waving the flag in the Second Amendment, many have fought against gun control, even though our school children's experiences are now seeped with gun violence drills. Are these people standing up as vehemently for the First Amendment? You who swear an oath of office to the Constitution, have you read it recently? Try the Fourth Amendment. It starts, "The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures." And it goes on to guarantee warrants. I have sought permission to make a formal presentation before this commission. It is your right to refuse that. I do, however, question the mayor's stated reason that he is in disagreement with the resolution. As an elected leader, I would want community engagement, not the squelching of discussion, including of discussion due to personal opinions. Some tens of thousands of local elections are taking place this November, including here. May those who foster community dialogue and live up to their constitutional obligations be the winners. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Everybody okay? Do we need a break?
Okay.
Move on to reports.
I'm all brave.
After reports.
Okay.
Go ahead, you're up.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Let's not use the word depressing when we talk. Positive. It's information. We got to work through it.
I'm a happy to kind of gal.
Got to work through it. I tell the staff it just is. Let's just work through it the best way we can. So I'm going to keep my report kind of simple. It would be not warranted of me not to talk about the water leak situation in our city. We have experienced the tick up since the beginning of July. An interesting phenomena that we're finding, a lot of our leaks are the service lines. They are not the main lines. Again, we're working on that, but we've not made any changes, but we are finding most of the leaks are the lines that lead from the trunk to the meter. They're small leaks, and a lot of times, again, we're trying to we assess them, we put them on a list. We've met this week with our staff. We're reevaluating our process to make sure that we're dealing with them first in, first out. It would appear that we've been kind of bouncing around a little bit on, yeah, I got a call and they've called 4 or 5 times, so we're going here, and then another one pops up. So I've asked the staff to be diligent to find a way to deal with them in order, in chronological order. Let's stay with it. And then, of course, if we find one that is significant, that they're attacking those, if you will. Excited to, we're also upgrading the Doppler system. I've been fortunate because I've had a few calls to fix some problems. And so I've used Doppler so that I can get in and see what's happening. We seem to have a condition where for some reason they're not providing us the information to contact back. So we're going to change that. We put that in place so that it happens. So I did make a call on Saturday. Person asked for my information, didn't ask me if I wanted a call back, said somebody will be calling you back. And I like that. I did get a call back from the staff at the end of the day that indicated they had gone to the site, they had taken care of it. and they did that. So we're gonna try to do a better job to make sure that we get it, either we can text, call, or email the person that called in the leak, so we can just do a better job communicating on that particular system. If you'll look over the next 3 months, even today, we will not be having department heads report to you. Starting today, our schedules with traveling, we had to go up to the Water Trust Board the first week on Wednesday, so I had to move the department head meeting. And so what we've done is for this quarter, I'm going to continue to meet with the department heads, but we won't be having them come and report to you. That'll start back at the first quarter of next year. Kind of feel like we're kind of a little up to speed, but we're going to take that off the agenda for the next 3 meetings.
Should have reran them.
Staff, we will be attending the infrastructure conference November 7th. We did just come back from a very good municipal league meeting. It's very, very productive for us. Very humbling for us to be in the town of Ruidoso. Obviously, finding out that it was there was really a draw to kind of help with some revenue for that community. But to be there and see their city manager and their staff, the work that they've had to do and the challenges that they face, they make things make sense, right? We were there and we had 2 flash flood warnings that day with them. And so we had to stay, and then actually one happened and you could see the devastation, and it didn't hurt a lot. It just went through the runs and there was more debris, and the crew was out and they got the roads back open within a few hours. So, I mean, we all have problems. That's what I came back from, is recognizing, we have challenges here, but everybody does. And sometimes they're really more than what we're facing. So kudos to those folks, staff at Ruidoso. We do have payroll. So you did approve us putting in a payroll process. This is the first week that the staff should be seeing their paychecks increased. Clearly we expect that we might have some challenges. We haven't seen that. Alona has just worked diligently to make sure that this is put in. Finance staff works hand in hand to make sure that it's in. And so congratulations to you, and the staff thanks you for that process. Let's see, again, just finish up. The street department has really made a big effort to try to get these potholes fixed. We've patched a lot of water cuts. They've been just diligent. They're cleaning up banks. They've just been working as hard as they possibly can. We're getting ready to start some new repairs, so they're going to be busy. So again, across the system, I just can't thank the department heads enough. They're all we're working hard. We're trying to stay ahead. It's just a bunch of things. And then I'll enclose by saying we are continuing to try to find a way to get a street sweeper. We thought we had one rented. We had tried to put in a process where we could rent one. We were going to try it for July and August to see. The rental company just couldn't get us one. They wouldn't really, because they wanted us to rent it for 6 months versus 2 months. And so we are now, I received some quotes yesterday on a potential lease. Jocelyn has taken the lead to try to help find different ways that we might be able to buy or come up with a different process. So the streets just they're just not where they need to be. I get it. And we will try to continue to find a solution to that. So with that, I'll stand for any questions that I might have overlooked.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners. Must be doing a good job.
I don't know about that. I'm just working hard, trying.
Thanks for your report.
I remain happy with the job. Thank you so much.
Good to hear. Who would like to start with our commissioner report? There's a hand. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this time I have to give a report. I haven't said much. I just wanted to report on the Sierra County Recreation and Tourism Advisory Board that I represent you on. We had our meeting just yesterday. And one of the highlights, a couple of the highlights I wanted to bring out was, I don't know how often you guys go to so we help fund them, the $12,000 that we give them, that helps to put that website on, the Sierra County Info.
Sierra County Info.
Right.
It's both Sierra County.
Sierra County Info.com, SierraCounty.info. Anyway, at our meeting, Rowena, she's our webmaster, and so she gives a very detailed report. And the report even talks about where they think people came to look at our site from what different parts of the site they want to look at. It's really is very detailed, but she did say that for the quarter, so our group only meets once a quarter. So for the quarter, they had 90,000 page views. So that's a substantial amount of people that look at those. And I just think that I wanted to tell you, so our money, it really does give us quite a bit of money. Did any of you go to the Spaceport open house? I didn't get to go because of the issues at our home, but I guess one thing that I thought was rather funny is when so Kim and Gina went, and so there was a lot of people there. You're supposed to get tickets. They didn't check you to see if you had tickets, and they had everybody park in that dirt parking lot there, and
Shuttle them in.
no, you had to walk. And handicapped people, they whoever was parking them didn't do a very good job. And also I was concerned about, I don't know if you guys been out to Engle very much that way when it rains. So that's really bad clay, dirt. Those people all could have been stuck out there. But they said that they had a huge turnout. They had lots of vendors, or they said there was a lot of geek type vendors there, or sciencey people there. But so that should be good, right? Because that's what you're looking for. But unfortunately, there was nothing there that really told people what is going on at the space. It would have been nice, and they're going to, I don't know if you have context, Ralph, or you, Gary, but they were hoping that if they do this again next year, because they haven't done it for a while, that maybe they have each, because the tenants that are there, maybe they should have a booth that talk about what they do, because if you went there to learn about the spaceport, that's not what you got to learn out there. So that was, and I just wanted to give, so the spaceport tours that come from our visitor center, they haven't been going on for a long time because there was some discrepancy between the guy that takes people on the tours and how they get tickets. And that was just a fiasco, but now you can get tickets online. And so for the first time in a long time, they got to do some tours. They usually did 2 tours a month from the visitor center, and they were full. But for the last 6-8 months, they really haven't been on, well, you wouldn't know because you volunteer down there, almost non-existent. But they're finally going to start booking them online, and so they think that would be a good thing. And it should increase that, get people out there. The trail system and the grant that we're getting, we're finalizing for Jornada. We're finalizing the verbiage for our signs. And so we meet next week, and we should have that finalized, and then we're going to get them over to Mo. And so he can do the graphics and get it submitted. So we're moving forward on that. And I just wanted to give a little bit of brief update on our helicopter from my Veterans Museum hat that I'm wearing, and the city. We, Gary and I and Maggie met a few days ago, and we talked about how we're going to move forward with getting it installed. The platform estimates are a lot higher than any of us had thought. And so now we're going to have to be ingenious on how to find ways to get it moving. So it's still sitting out there, but we had hoped we could have it installed by Veterans Day or their celebration, and we're not going to be able to, but it's still there. Yeah, we still have it, and we have hopes for next year. So that's my report.
Thank you, ma'am. Heather?
Yes. I've not much. It is here, it's voting time. So like we heard, here's one power we have as citizens is voting time. And here early voting started for multiple positions throughout Sierra County. And I would like to encourage people to go out and vote, because here we have wonderful candidates here who are running for school board, and education is the most important aspect of our future. And here we see here that the federal government is giving more and more power to the state when it comes to education. And that is why it is very important to choose carefully, to have here a good school board together. And we have a lot of qualified people who are applying to be on the school board and can make a difference. Well, I was very shocked that even when I looked at CELO, when you look at it, it says the percentage 4 of 10, 3 of 10 when it comes to our education in this town. And that is worrisome because here, when we are moving forward with industries, people look at things like that, where and what kind of quality of education we are getting. And we have an opportunity to get wonderful people onto the school board, and I encourage everybody here to go out, vote, and then also in the midterm. So this is the power we have as civilians, as citizens, that we can go out and voice our voice by voting. Then, of course, a good note is here, RTOP is coming up this Saturday. Something new here, Cloudfest 2.0 at Healing Waters Plaza. So you will hear us with bass and drum and performances and everything.
It's gonna be.
I don't know. And otherwise here, all the galleries will be open. Everybody has musical performance. You can meet the local artists and everything. Come and join us. A celebration of here once a month. We do this, and we as business owners are welcoming everybody because your community is very important, and we should get together and celebrate. While there's not a lot is going on in the world, and yeah, once in a while we should just stop, enjoy the moment, and celebrate life. Thank you very much.
Before we go on, just to tie into what you said about the school board, I believe there's a thing of, well, I'm not running.
I was gonna say, that was part of my report.
All right, well, you say it.
No, just kidding, go ahead.
No,
Just go ahead.
Let's wait till we all present, and then if nobody says what you want to say, then you with your mentor.
Unless Destiny talks about it before that.
I did want to also report out, I attended the Municipal League training in Ruidoso with Gary and staff, and it was really great to be in a room with pretty much every mayor, commissioner, trustee, chief of police, judges in the entire state of New Mexico. And the conversations that I had with individuals or groups just was really, it kind of gave me an understanding that all of us, regardless of our sizes, all of these cities, we're all kind of in the same boat, and we're all kind of facing the same problems. I don't know if I was playing bingo at that thing, the number of times that affordable housing came up from every single district, every single corner of the state was very, it just kind of honed in that is a huge issue that everyone is facing, and it's not just us. And then the infrastructure needs of the different cities and communities. Some people consider us lucky with our streets the way they are, and that's really sad. But you know, it was kind of eye-opening to see that like we're all kind of facing the same problems, and you know, we learn from each other's approaches. I think one of the last trainings we went to, someone gave a presentation on their animal ordinances. I got a copy of that and sent it to our city staff and said, hey, is there any way we can copy this or pull from this or use it as an example? So I just think that attending those conferences are really important for us as commissioners and city staff as well. They gave us, one of the parting gifts was this bear for Smokey the Bear. And it's a card holder. And I walked into the city, I saw that in 3 people's offices, and I just thought it was awesome. So I also wanted to give huge kudos and congratulations to the 18 graduating students from GSAP Alternative Pathway Program.
These kids started in January and worked extremely hard and have earned their high school diplomas. It is a high school equivalency diploma from the New Mexico Department of Higher Education. I thought that was the end of the journey. They get their diploma and they go get a job. No, now I have 7 of them that are going to college starting January. So, I mean, I just think it was an amazing journey that the whole program did. And I just wanted to offer them congratulations on their graduation. And then one more thing on community. We're moving into, this is the season for events, for Trick or Treat Downtown, Old Fashioned Christmas, Luminaria Beach Walk, Holiday Sing Along. We're just moving into all of these wonderful events, and the weather has been great. And I just encourage the community to get out. All the events that we've been doing, from the music concerts to the fall fiesta, seeing people out in the community, out in the downtown, supporting businesses. This has just been really fantastic. And so I just want to encourage everyone to come out and celebrate Truth or Consequences.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I have nothing. I'm just Good morning. My name is Amanda Forrester. I know I've been MIA for a couple of meetings, but I wear multiple hats within our community, and I am one of our 4-H leaders, and I'm wearing green because it is National 4-H Week. So thank you to both of you for also supporting 4-H. I appreciate it. How nice of you guys. And that's where I've been the last couple meetings, is supporting our 4-H kids at State 4-H, State Fair, Southern Fair, and then I'm sure most of you guys know that we just wrapped up our county fair. Sale night, we made about $350,000. That goes directly into those kids' pockets, and then add-ons come in, which I think now are totaling about $450,000 that go directly to those kids. So such a supportive community, love being a part of it, but that's also where I have been, and that's what pulls at my heartstrings a lot. So with that being said, I'm also going to wear another hat, apparently, and I'm going to go to our school board meet and greet tonight at the cafeteria at 6 o'clock. So for anybody that would like to go, I think they are going to offer up a box where you guys can ask questions to any of those candidates. So again, one of our biggest powers we hold is being able to vote. So go out there and get educated on who you're going to be voting for. Sorry, Mary Jo, that was what I was going to say.
What cafeteria is it?
At the high school cafeteria. There you go. I think I'm good, unless something comes up again.
Yeah.
Thank you, commissioners. Now you know why I like to do last. Because you guys have talked about a lot of things. I'm down to one item to talk about. I'm glad to do that in a second, but I'm going to just make one general observation, and I want to thank you, commissioners, for being so engaged in our community, for doing the things that you do. It's important to be representative of people that put you here, and so thank you for your engagement. And I also want to give a special shout out to Destiny. When she mentions the GSAP program, she didn't mention that she's the one that coordinated it.
Yeah.
And she's responsible for these kids graduating. So, these kids have a future because somebody cares.
Yep.
So thank you.
And I always like your posts when you have a highlight of your graduates.
Okay, so for my report, if I can remember it now. So last week, Manager Whitehead and I traveled to Albuquerque to the Water Trust Board. And I'm gonna make the story pretty short. But we didn't know whether we should apply for Water Trust Board money because we're not far enough in our previous project to be able to apply without a waiver. And so we have a $17.6 million project going out to our community for 35,000 linear feet of water in the Veeder Street area of all the 10 streets, right? All the metal streets. And so we're only 5% expended on that, but we didn't get the information until like January. And so we're in the process of it. We got about 30% of our engineering done. But so we had a discussion about should we even go for it because we have to get a waiver and we didn't know if we were going to be successful. So I think the general consensus was, you've got to swing for the fences. We need to do stuff for our community. First thing is water. We got a lot of funding for water. The next thing is wastewater. So Tracy did a nice job putting our package together. Really appreciate those efforts. The paper was concise and clear. So we presented our waiver request, and it's in the form of, we're only 5% there, but we're going to have 30% engineering is done, but we're going to have all of our engineering done by April. And then shortly after that's next April. And then shortly after that, within a month and a half or so, we can go out to bid and for the project. And then it takes about 18 months to get that completed. So by the end of 2027, we should have the water street or the metal streets done, which is beyond the grant limit, but we'll ask for a waiver for that. So we put that all together in a request. There was 39 different communities that requested a waiver, so I didn't feel guilty or bad. And we also requested a waiver because we had an administrative order for our sewer plant. Basically, the EPA came down and said, you have a violation here, here, and here. We were concerned for our community, and we were concerned for our sewer plant. So we were granted our waiver. And not everybody was granted a waiver. Most of us were. But what they do is they go through the process and they rate each one, right? And then the higher you rate, the better off you're going to be. So I feel pretty confident of that because we had some pretty compelling issues. Just in general, there was $300 million available, $500 million in requests. All right. So we were granted a waiver. So we stuck around. I think Gary and I sat in the chair for about 7 hours straight to do a 3 or 4 minute presentation, right? But it was educational because we got to hear all the other communities and the issues that they were having. And I'm going to tell you right now, we are head and shoulders above a lot of other communities and what they're doing. Administratively, we're sound, we're responsive, we do the things we're supposed to do. I always had this little saying wherever I work is that it's not on my desk. And so when we get things here, we turn it around, we get it back. And so we do a great job at that. And that's partly why the people know us at the Water Trust Board. They ask the questions like they're familiar with us. And so that was kind of cool. So we asked for a $2.522 million project to upgrade our sewer plant. And that includes the replacement of the secondary clarifiers, the weirs, and the launderers. That includes the aerator replacement and oxidation ditch improvements. It includes the influent lift station and headworks upgrades. We still have guys going 14 feet underground to clean the headworks, which is dangerous. They have to wear aerators, and we need to get out of that. And that was pretty compelling. We also made the argument that it affects not only our city, but it affects the village of Williamsburg, a very important component of what we do. So we made that presentation, and I feel fairly confident by the time we're rated that I think we're going to get an affirmative down the road. It felt pretty good. They asked the appropriate questions. So I was able to present. Gary came up and helped answer the questions that I couldn't answer. And I think it worked out pretty good. So I'm hoping that this will work. But that's part of the $5 million that if we get that we don't have to borrow down the road. And so that's why I think it was an important ask. I'm hoping that we will be successful. I think we will be, but we'll find out in a couple of months, and we'll move on from there. Anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, so that was my report. That's it. That's it. All right, the city attorney, do you have a report?
I have a report. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's move on to consent calendar.
I have that one grant.
Let's get that done. So the consent calendar is this: City Commission regular minutes for September 10th, 2025. The City Commission regular minutes for September 24th, 2025. The City Commission workshop minutes for September 24th, 2025. We want to acknowledge the regular Recreation Golf Advisory Board minutes for June 2nd, 2025. We have the September 2025 accounts payable to approve, and we want to approve the take-home vehicle form for the police department. Anybody have any questions or concern regarding the consent calendar? Having none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar as written.
You,
I'll second that.
we have a motion and a second. Doris?
Honorable Justin Russell, Honorable Mary Jo Paul, Honorable Ingo Hopper,
Aye.
Honorable Amanda Forrester,
Aye.
Honorable Ross Heckler.
Aye. Carries unanimous. With that, let's adjourn for 10 minutes. And then come back and we'll do the regular business for the city.
Perfect.